Hello, everybody. We are back for another episode of KNL Sports Huddle. Today is November 11th as I'm recording this, so happy Veterans Day to all those who have served or are currently serving, and thank you for your service that you've brought to this wonderful country. So, we have a lot to get to, and as you can see, it is just me this week. My partner, Cage, is dealing with some illness this week, and he told me that his voice is not podcast material for this week. So I just took him for his word. I'm sure he'll be back next week. So let's get to a quick Miss the Cut, starting in college basketball world. I'll just go over a couple weekend games. So on Friday night, North Carolina really took care of business in the second half against Kansas, beating them 87-74. Battle of Blue Bloods. Usually see these two play on neutral courts. I'm glad to see. I believe they're at a home and they're having a home and home, so I would assume they're playing this game at Kansas next year. But nevertheless, North Carolina looked really good in the second half. And then on Saturday, number 15 Alabama beat number 5 St. John's 103-96. St. John's coach Rick Pitino was not very happy with his team's defensive effort after the game. And judging by the final score, you can kind of assume why. Big win for Alabama. They are hosting number 2 Purdue this week on Thursday, I believe. So that'll be one to watch. And then also 2 heavy name coaches going at it. Michigan State hosting Arkansas. And Tom Izzo's squad took care of business 69-66. Really fascinating game. Came down to the final possession. But Michigan State was the lower ranked team. They were 22nd, so I guess I don't know if it's declared an upset. I didn't see the line before the game, but they win for Michigan State, who brings back a lot of guys from last year. Still kind of an underranked Michigan State team. We're usually seeing them overranked early in the year, but usually they don't see them this low in the top 25. But hey, maybe there's something new this year with that early win. And then breaking news today out of the NBA, the Mavericks have fired their general manager, Nico Harrison. A year ago, if you would have asked most NBA fans who the Mavericks GM was, not many of them could name it. But ever since the Luka Doncic trade, he's probably the most well-known. He was the most well-known GM in the league. And they let him go after the team's poor start to the season. The writing was probably on the wall after the Luka trade. I don't know. He might just be the fall guy here. I mean, he's received pretty much all of the blame for it, but I feel like this goes much deeper than just GM Nico Harrison. But his vision he was talking about has not come to fruition yet, though, because Anthony Davis, who they traded, got back in return for Luka. What do you know? He's hurt again. Obviously, Kyrie is still injured, and they have no point guard. I mean, they've had Cooper Flagg, their rookie, play little point guard. D'Angelo Russell, who they signed, has kind of been on and off in the rotation, and it's just been a sloppy mess. And I've heard their home court environment's not been very fun for Mavericks players this year due to the fire Nico chance. So I feel like I said the writing was kind of on the wall there, and hey, maybe the Mavericks fans can finally smile about something after the Luka trade. So okay, we are now to week 11 of the NFL season. Looking back at week 10, some of the notable storylines out in Berlin, Germany, Jonathan Taylor is making his case to be the first non-quarterback to win MVP since Adrian Peterson in 2012. And boy, is he making a case for it. Against the Atlanta Falcons, he put up 244 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns, along with 42 receiving yards. So that puts him at a grand total of 286 total scrimmage yards. Huge touchdowns. He had that super long 83-yard rushing touchdown in the fourth quarter to give the Colts their first lead since the first half. And then he had the walk-off touchdown in overtime. So, right now I would put probably say Taylor, Drake May, and Matthew Stafford are up there in the top three for the MVP race, especially with guys like Allen and Mahomes' teams kind of disappointing, I guess you could say, a little bit so far this year. So, yeah, as a Colts fan, I'd love to see Taylor win MVP. I just think it's going to be super hard because of the bias that quarterbacks have always had for this award. Two early window comebacks. We had the Bears coming back against the Giants. Pretty much everyone saw that coming because the Giants, anytime they've had a double-digit lead on the road, they have blown it. In fact, this was their fourth this year, and they've lost all four of those games. And the Texans pulled off an absolute miraculous comeback at home against the Jaguars. Davis Mills, not really known for his rushing ability, and he was backing up C.J. Stroud, had a 14-yard game-winning rushing touchdown for the Texans to complete their comeback. They outscored the Jaguars 26-0 in the fourth quarter. And then Minnesota, we don't really know what's going on there. J.J. McCarthy, don't really know what to make of him. Talking about on his football play and just who he is, because I don't know if it was J.J. McCarthy out there, if it was his alter ego named Nine that we've heard about. I don't know, but whoever it was out there did not play well. Just a 54.5 passer rating through two picks. Of course, he had a couple nice throws towards the end to show that he was an NFL as a legit NFL prospect, but. Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird situation. I don't know why people are already claiming to give up on him, which is just through 4 starts. I feel like that's crazy. But the Vikings got to be shaking their heads at letting both Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones leave their building and riding with J.J. McCarthy. And then right now, the clear two best teams in the NFC are the Seahawks and the Rams, both in the NFC West. Both came off dominating wins against the fellow NFC West opponents over the weekend. And what do you know it? They're meeting each other this week for their first head-to-head matchup of the season. So we will get to previewing that in just one bit. And for Monday Night Football last night, that was an ugly one. Green Bay's offense was horrible. Don't really know who to pin most of the blame on. LaFleur, Coach LaFleur definitely can hold some blame. Jordan Love has definitely regressed these last 2 weeks unexpectedly. So, I've said in the past, Green Bay is not a team I've liked betting on this year because they've kind of been inconsistent, playing down in competition. But they got to get things figured out because the Bears and the Lions are now ahead of them in the NFC North race. Alrighty, week 11. So last week I went a poor 6-8. I'm still above 500, just barely. I'm now at 75 and 74. And yeah, I'll just admit, not a good week for me. Cage was a little bit better. He was 8-6. So he is also still above 500, and he's 53% a success rate with Cage. I guess at 75 and 74, I'll just say I'm a 50% success rate. But okay, we got some good games this week, but we'll start off with a Thursday nighter that doesn't really. It's probably going to put more people to sleep again. Jets and Patriots. This game is at New England. Patriots coming off a big win at Tampa Bay. So the fear here is that short week off of a big win, you could see the Patriots regress because they are 11.5-point favorites. That's a big number. And the Jets have actually not lost since mid-October. Yeah, they've won 2 in a row and had a bye week sandwiched in between. But if you look at the details, the Jets offense was horrible against the Browns last week. They only won that game because they scored 2 special teams touchdowns. So I don't think that's a recipe for success against an 8-2 New England Patriots squad. So I'm going to ride with the Patriots at minus 11.5. It's a big divisional spread in a Thursday night game, but I just can't. I don't trust the Jets at all after that putrid offensive performance. And there's always the fear of a backdoor cover here, but I'm just going to take the risk, and I'm going to go with the Patriots here. Cage is in agreement with me. He is also taking New England at minus 11.5. He kind of agrees with me that Justin Fields not getting over 100 total yards in the game on Sunday is not sustainable for success with the Jets. Okay, our last international game of the year, I believe, is in Spain, and it is a game between two teams that are both 3-7, I think. Commanders at the Dolphins. Dolphins coming off a huge upset win over Buffalo. Commanders coming off a blowout loss to Detroit. Dolphins are 2.5-point favorites here. And normally in this situation, I would bet against a Dolphins team that comes off an emotional win. But I'm actually going to go with Miami here at that minus 2.5 line. And that's mostly because from the times I've watched the Commanders this year, their defense is horrible. I feel like it's not being talked about enough because Cincy's defense and Dallas's defense are the ones that get all the talk from the analysts about how awful they are, but I feel like Commanders is right up there with them. They're not being talked about enough. And with all the injuries Washington has, I feel like the Dolphins just have more offensive firepower at the moment. And as long as that line's underneath the field goal, I will take the Dolphins here at minus 2.5. Once again, Cage is in agreement with me. And his reasoning, they told me, was just, Jaden Daniels still wasn't playing for Washington. Mariota's been okay, but it's not. He doesn't bring the firepower that Daniels does. Next, starting in the 1:00 slate, we have the Panthers at the Falcons. Falcons are 3.5-point favorites at home. Panthers coming off an absolutely inexcusable loss to the Saints. We talked about that last week, how I didn't really want to bet the Panthers because they were coming off that win against Green Bay, but I felt like the Saints were terrible. So I feel like they would have been able to cover, but boy, was I wrong. Panthers are who we thought they were, and they're facing an Atlanta team who is 3-6, but I feel like they are a lot better than their record says they are because they've played two of the top teams in the AFC down to the wire these last 2 weeks. And I like the Falcons here at minus 3.5. They're going to be hungry for a win. They've come oh so close lately, and they're going to remember that week 3 or 4, one of the early weeks, they lost to Carolina 30-0, and I feel like they're going to remember that this week, and they're going to come out pounding the Panthers. So once again, I will take Atlanta at minus 3.5. Cage is in agreement with me. And he mentioned that it has been risky betting Atlanta games this year because you don't know which of their teams will show up. But I feel more confident in this one than I do in past weeks with the Falcons. Next, two teams with winning records. Buccaneers at the Bills, but both coming off losses to AFC East opponents in the state of Florida. Kind of strange, but they're meeting in Buffalo. Buccaneers losses to the Patriots, who are an actual good team. The Bills was a loss to the Dolphins, who are a terrible team. So, which direction do we go here? Bills are 5.5-point favorites. And this is actually a game I would not bet at the moment because we are kind of waiting on Tampa's injury report. They might be getting Bucky Irving back, or he might be out another week. Same with Chris Godwin. But since we're recording this early, I have to make a pick. And I'm just going to go with the Bills at minus 5.5. Given they're at home, they suffered a horrible loss last week. I feel like they're going to want to bounce back from that. And they're better than whatever the hell that was at Miami. And I think they know that. And I think they're going to come out with a sense of urgency against Tampa and Baker Mayfield. And Cage is in agreement with me. Because like they've heard all the talk this week. People are like already shutting the Super Bowl window. Sean McDermott's catching heat. Could he get fired or just crazy talking points like that at the moment. And I think Buffalo's going to be tired of listening to that, and they're going to take Tampa and beat them over 5.5 points. Okay, Cages and I, first disagreement is this AFC South matchup between the Texans and the Titans. This game is at Nashville. The Titans are coming off of a bye week, and the Texans are coming off a huge comeback over Jacksonville, as I alluded to earlier. And I'm going to go with the Texans on the road at -7.5. I don't know who's quarterbacking this game, but I don't know if that matters between Stroud and Davis Mills. But we saw this game earlier at Houston. The Texans beat the Titans 26-0. And yeah, Tennessee's offense is just not built to score points against this Houston defense. So that's why I said it doesn't really matter who plays quarterback for the Texans. I feel like they can cover this touchdown and a hook spread. Titans are coming off of a bye week, so that is a little cause for concern. But I think they're the worst team in the league, and they're going to be going for that number 1 pick. But like I said, Cage is in disagreement, and he's going with a reasonable argument. It's just a numbers play. It's a divisional home underdog play, giving up that many points at home. Plus, emotional victory for Houston could be kind of a letdown game this week. So yeah, I hear that, and this isn't my favorite bet of the week, but I'm just glad we finally have a disagreement. Okay, next we have the Bears and the Vikings. This game is at Minneapolis. These two teams faced off in week 1, and J.J. McCarthy's best quarter of his career in that fourth quarter with a comeback win over the Bears. Vikings are 3-point favorites, despite Chicago having a better record. And I'm going to go with the Bears at +3. Vikings at home have not been very good. They're 1-3 straight up at home this year. And lately, the Bears just keep finding ways to win. Now, I am not high on the Bears at all. Their wins have not been that impressive. Their opponents, I mean. I'm glad they're building a strong culture there. I feel like this, even if they lose a few games coming up, they've built a good culture for next year. But I still like them this week though, because you don't know what you're going to get from McCarthy or Nine or whoever the hell plays quarterback for the Vikings. And like I said, Vikings have not been very good at home this year for some reason. So I like the Bears as underdogs at +3, and Cage likes it too. I think he's a little lower on McCarthy than I am. I think, but because he lays out that he doesn't like. He thinks the Vikings might be in panic mode over J.J. McCarthy right now. But yeah, he gives out a good prediction for this game. He thinks McCarthy's going to outplay Caleb Williams for 3 quarters. And then Ben Johnson's going to come into his bag in the fourth quarter like he did last week against the Giants, and then they'll win another weird game. And I could easily see that happening. So we are in agreement on there at the Bears +3. Packers at Giants. This game is Packers -7.5. I finally got a Packers game right for the first time in what seems like forever. Taking the Eagles to cover last week, and I am going to go with the Packers at -7.5. Yeah, they've been awful these last 2 weeks offensively. They put up 13 points against the Panthers and 7 points against the Eagles. And I just don't think we're going to see 3 bad weeks in a row from this offense. Now, big news I did not talk about earlier. Brian Daboll, the Giants coach, was fired on Monday. So what does that mean? That means there could be an interim coach bump in this game. But Jackson Dart, I doubt, will play this week because he suffered a concussion against the Bears. So that means they will be suiting up Russell Wilson at quarterback. And I feel like Russell Wilson's atrocious play will cancel out any interim coach bump that the Giants may receive. Packers need a win. They need a win. They need a good win, and I feel like they're going to get it done here this week against a injured New York Giants squad at Packers -7.5. Cage is in agreement. He says it's a get-right game for Green Bay, and yeah. Okay, Bengals Bengals and Steelers. Call this the AARP Bowl, the Icy Hot Bowl, whatever, round 2, because we saw this game just a couple weeks ago on Thursday night, and it was a good one. Rodgers and Flacco had a great offensive duel with the Bengals coming out on top at home. Packers are 5.5-point favorites in this game. Bengals are coming off of a bye. Steelers are coming off a bad loss to the Chargers. Yeah, that was an ugly one, considering how well they looked against the Colts. But speaking of that, their offense really didn't have to do too much in that Colts game because it was the defense that kind of allowed them to win that game convincingly. So this has basically been 2 weeks in a row that Aaron Rodgers-led Pittsburgh offense has not looked very good. So what's the best remedy for that? Well, facing the Cincinnati defense, who is, like I mentioned earlier, absolutely terrible. But I like this Bengals offense, and I think this 5.5 is just too many points. So I'm going to take my first underdog of the week and go Bengals at plus. I know this is my second. I took the Bears. Excuse me for that one. Bengals plus 5.5. Like I said, too many points. This Bengals offense should put points up on the board against the Steelers defense that plays very Jekyll and Hyde. Some weeks they look fantastic. Other weeks they look like they've never practiced before. So, yeah, too many points. I like the Steelers to win this game outright, but only by a field goal. So Bengals plus 5.5. And Cage is in agreement. He likes Bengals coming off of a bye, giving old man Flacco more time to rest. And Tomlin being favored by more than a field goal. History shows that that's not always the play. So we are in agreement once again. Chargers at Jacksonville. I believe, yes, this is another one we finally disagree on. Chargers are 2.5-point road favorites, and I'm going to take them here. Jaguars have not covered in 4 straight games, and I think it'll be a 5th straight game after Sunday. I think they had a potentially season-altering game or loss to Houston last week, because just an absolutely inexcusable loss against Davis. You can't let Davis Mills come back on you like that. Houston's defense is good. Like, there's no shame in getting outplayed by them, but I mean, you can't allow that Texans offense to come back on you like that. And yeah, that could be season altering. Chargers, despite all the injuries on the O-line, are finding ways to win. They've won 3 in a row. And yeah, I like them here on the road at Jacksonville. Not really home field advantage there. So, yeah, but like I said, Cage is in disagreement for like the opposite reasons. He thinks Jacksonville is going to come back after that tough loss. So, yeah, we're in clear disagreement here. I think it's going to be a season-altering loss, but Cage likes them to bounce back here. And he still says he still doesn't trust the Chargers, and I can see that because of the O-line injuries. But I'm going to go Chargers here, minus 2.5. Cage takes the Jaguars. Okay, now we are to the evening slate, and there are 3. Starting here to Sunday Night Football, there are 3 really good games here. Starting with Seattle at Los Angeles Rams. Yeah, like I said earlier, I think these are the 2 best teams in the NFC right now, and they're going head to head in Los Angeles. Rams are 2.5-point home favorites. Matthew Stafford is absolutely dicing up defenses at the moment. He absolutely torched San Francisco this past weekend. He's going up against a very legitimate Seattle Seahawks defense. And the Rams are also, their defense is also playing well. Mac Jones did play decently against them, though. So I'm not saying they're world beaters, and they're going against a Seattle offense that Sam Darnold and Jackson Smith and Jigba also appear to be unstoppable at the moment. So I'm going to go Seahawks at plus 2.5. I think they're going to win outright. Yeah, I see both. This seems like a series where both road teams win for some reason. Sometimes when you have 2 really good teams playing each other, that's just what happens in those divisional games. I'm going to go Seattle here, plus 2.5. I still think they're kind of being slept on. I've seen a couple power rankings have them at number one, which is I almost think appropriate at the moment, but some still have like Bills or Chiefs ahead of them. I just think it's ridiculous. I think since their bye week, they've been unstoppable. Um, and yeah, I think these are two good teams going at it. Just sit back and watch. Not a game I'd really bet uh, if I didn't have to. But yeah, Seattle's going to get the job done. Probably a fairly high scoring game. Cage is in agreement. He likes Seattle here as well. And then another NFC West matchup between the third and fourth place team in this division. San Francisco 49ers at Arizona. 49ers are 2.5-point favorites. So since starting in week 3, the 49ers have alternated wins and losses every week. So what happened last week? Oh, yeah, they lost to the Rams. So I guess we can guarantee they win this week. So, and if we're under a field goal, I would say that's the play. So that was my logic here. 49ers at -2.5. They've also been pretty good on the road. They've been 4-2 against the spread on the road, and the Cardinals have been 1-4 against the spread at home. So I think the numbers just point to San Francisco here bouncing back. Arizona had a horrible loss. I mean, there's no shame losing to Seattle, but they just got absolutely humiliated in that game in the Pacific Northwest. So they might try to bounce back, but I like San Francisco here. Cage is in agreement. Yeah, like he mentioned, Mac Jones was decent last week. 3 touchdowns. He had 1 interception late, but by that point, they were just trying to come back. So next, this is a weird 4:00 game. Baltimore-Cincinnati is usually, Baltimore-Cleveland, I beg your pardon. This is usually 1:00 game. Didn't expect this to see an evening game. So this game is at Cleveland. Baltimore is an 8.5-point favorite. They've been on a tear lately, especially since Lamar's come back. So Ravens, like big favorites on the road against a Cleveland team that was pretty terrible against the Jets last week. I'm going to go Ravens -8.5 and Cages too. I mean, yeah, they're getting back on track and they know that they need to win out. At this point, I don't really need to win out for a few more games because it looks like the Steelers are crashing. But yeah, and like Cage said, this is going to be a weird game. It's going to be 60 degrees in Cleveland this weekend, so it's not going to be like NFC North weather. The only thing that gives me hesitation is that these two teams met earlier in the year, and Baltimore clobbered them 41-17. But the Ravens have not beat the Browns twice in the same year since 2020, so that's been 5 years. And it's not like the Browns have been very good in that span. So yeah, Cleveland just keeps finding at least one way to win against Baltimore each year. I think the play here is to go with Baltimore, but that statistic does scare me. Okay, last evening game. Like I said, there's been a couple really good games here in the evening slate, and this is another one potentially for AFC West supremacy this year. Broncos, an uninspiring 8-2, are hosting the Kansas City Chiefs, who are 5-4 and coming off of a bye. Denver is 3.5-point underdogs at home, and I guess it's most likely due to their horrific offensive performance against the Raiders on Thursday night last week, and it was ugly. That was a 7-10 game. Denver defense did all the work in that game. And it's not like the Raiders' defense is any good. I mean, the Chiefs put up 31 against them a couple weeks ago. Colts put up 40. So, yeah, something's wrong with the Denver offense right now. But I like this half. I'm going to go Broncos at +3.5. I like this hook. I expect this to be a close game, obviously. And Chiefs are 0-4 so far this year in one-possession games. So complete 180 from last year where they won all those improbable close games. So, yeah, I expect this game to be close. I'm not going to say Denver's going to win outright, but I like that hook. And if you recall, Denver matched up pretty well against Kansas City last year. Of course, one of those games is Week 18, so you can't really judge the result of that. But the other one was at Kansas City, and it required a blocked 35-yard game-winning field goal for the Chiefs to win that game. So, yeah, Denver matches up well at the moment with Kansas City, so I like them to cover that 3.5-point spread at home. Cage is in agreement with me. It's a big game. Denver, if Denver wins this, they are basically in the driver's seat for the AFC West title. Because I don't know, I think the Chargers are too injured to pull off a bunch of wins in a row, and the Chiefs would be at that point 5-5, so they'd have too much catching up to do, in my opinion. So, and big game for Kansas City to keep pace in that race. Okay, if you're wondering why those two games I just mentioned aren't getting flexed to Sunday Night Football, it's because we have a good one on Sunday night. Lions are at the Eagles, two division-leading teams. This was what we thought the NFC Championship game would have been last year. Unfortunately for Detroit, the Commanders went into Ford Field and whooped on them. So, Eagles are 1.5-point favorites, coming off that great defensive performance against Green Bay on Monday night and an ugly offensive performance. Detroit, big predictable bounce back win against the Commanders. And I like Eagles here at home. -1.5. I think this is a game where the Eagles offense gets back on track. The Lions secondary is still kind of leaky at times, still kind of injured. And I could see Jalen Hurts bouncing back after a pretty pitiful performance. Getting A.J. Brown more involved, which I know which is what Philly fans want. And, of course, Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. So give me Philadelphia at -1.5. Cage is in agreement. Yeah, and he also mentioned Dan Campbell being offensive coordinator. I think that worked well last week. I don't know if that can work 2 weeks in a row. And he also, mentioned Detroit's really only faced one good defense this year, and they only put up 17 points against that Chiefs defense. So, we're both in agreement with Philadelphia at home on Sunday Night Football. And finally, we have Monday Night Football, two teams with losing records. The Dallas Cowboys are at Vegas. Cowboys are 3.5-point favorites. And really the only intrigue with this game is to see the Cowboys' new look defense with Keenan Williams and Logan Wilson to see if they've improved at all. The only way they can go is up, so I'm assuming we'll see some improvement. But this really isn't a great test to measure improvement, though, because they're facing a Raiders offense that is horrible. So even if they do have a good game against this Raiders offense, just take it with a grain of salt. And because the Raiders offense is so terrible, I'm going to take the Cowboys at -3.5. Cowboys are also coming off of a bye week, so they've had more time to prepare. And I think the Dallas offense will get back on track against a Raiders defense that really has not performed well against good quarterbacks this year. Gage is in agreement. Dak beats up on bad teams. Yep, forgot to mention that. I should have mentioned that. Cage did it for me. So there you have it. Those are our Week 11 picks. I'm looking to get back on track. Cage probably wants to improve on his 8-6 from last week as well. I like most of these. Not too many of these I am scared about. So we shall see. Should be a fun week. There's only two teams on bye, Colts and Saints, and there's a Europe game early in the morning, but there's no like Monday night doubleheader or a Friday game. It's a whole bunch of Sunday games, which is pretty uncommon in the NFL these days for some reasons. Yep, that is the NFL talk for the week. And to kick things off, to finish things up, excuse me, the college football world was almost put on upset alert when IU almost lost at Penn State, but Fernando Mendoza and his suddenly NFL caliber receiving corps said no, that was not going to happen, and they went on a game-winning drive to survive against Penn State at Beaver Stadium. Yeah, Fernando Mendoza, who many are projecting to be a top 5 NFL pick. If the Jets end up with that pick, if I were him, I would stay in college. But we'll see what happens there. But he really did not have a good game up until then. He had no touchdown passes and just a pick, but he clutched up on that final drive. And I don't even know what else. I don't know what all I could say about IU's receivers. I don't know where they got these guys. I don't even know if they know where they got these guys. I mean, they were without Elijah Surratt, the guy who torched Oregon just a few weeks ago, and clearly their number one receiver. Who do they bring in? They bring in Charlie Becker, who just had, I believe, 7 catches all year. And he just randomly, he just had a 7-reception, 118-yard game. Had like 3 tough, quick catches that were NFL caliber. No idea where that came from. And then I haven't even mentioned Omar Cooper Jr. and his game-winning catch. Craziest game-winning catch you'll ever see, probably in any football game ever. Mendoza put it only his receiver could get it, and somehow but I still thought it was he overthrew him. But man, that was one of the most athletic plays I've ever seen. He turned on zero gravity, and then somehow, some way, the Penn State cornerback's leg, touched Cooper's foot as it was going down, preventing that one foot to touch out of bounds. And then he was able to toe tap that other foot. Just an absolutely insane game-winning play. And you can't even fault Penn State. I feel like Penn State was doing a good job covering all these guys. It's just I don't know what happened. I don't know what smelling salts IU sniffed before that final drive, but it was insane. Okay, finally, just wrap things up. 2 big games in the SEC for Week 12. Number 12, Oklahoma, is at number 4, Alabama. Oklahoma's ranked. Kalen DeBoer and his Alabama squad have been fantastic against ranked teams, and they're 5.5-point favorites. I love them here in this spot. So, yes, I think Alabama is going to win at home against Oklahoma. And then a game we mentioned at the beginning of the year is one to look out for. Texas at Georgia. Georgia is 6.5-point favorites against Arch Manning's squad. They're also ranked 5th. Texas has climbed back to 11th. And, for playoff hopes, obviously a must win for Texas. It's going to be tough going to Athens, and I still don't really trust this Texas team very much. They've looked kind of off and on all year. They have been playing much better lately, but I think this will be too tall of a task. Yeah, Georgia. Okay, yeah. So this is Tuesday, so I guess we'll get our new college football playoff rankings coming up. I would assume Ohio State will still be number 1. It will be interesting to see if they switch Texas A&M and IU, just because of IU playing winless Big Ten Penn State team close, and Texas A&M coming off of a blowout win over Missouri. But I don't think they should, but it'll just be interesting to see if they will or not. Okay, that wraps things up. As mentioned earlier, I think I would assume Cage will be back next week as we look back on Week 11 of the NFL season. Week 11 of the NFL, and recap any college football or any college basketball, NBA news that comes out. So enjoy that, and enjoy this week of sports.